I'm Jean. Sitting here in my new office, looking at the sign that reads Jean's Medical Logistics Solutions, I can't help but reflect on the journey that led me here. It all started with a betrayal so deep, it felt like a punch to the gut. My family, the Thompsons, were a well-known business family in the city. My father, Henry Thompson, was a man of old-fashioned values and a strict sense of hierarchy. He believed in the family name above all else and saw business as a way to maintain our social standing. My mother, Victoria Thompson, was more conniving. She was always looking for the next opportunity to elevate the family, often at the expense of others. And my sister, Amelia, was the golden child, the one who could do no wrong in my parents' eyes. I had spent 15 years building a company from the ground up. Starting with just a small rented space, a second-hand computer, and a phone with a cracked screen, I had created a business that specialized in transporting temperature-sensitive medical products across 4 states. By the time they took it from me, the company was worth $2 million. It happened at a fancy family dinner. The restaurant was dimly lit, with chandeliers casting a soft glow over the table. We were surrounded by family friends, all smiling and chatting. My mother slid a leather folder across the table to Amelia. Before anyone said a word, I saw the transfer papers. My mother then lifted her glass and said, "Jean, you've worked so hard for so long. It's time Amelia had a chance at stability. She has a family to take care of." People around us clapped, thinking it was a heartwarming family succession story. My father leaned back, looked me straight in the eye, and added, "You'll stay on, of course. You'll work under Amelia. She needs this security." Amelia didn't even flinch. She just placed her hand on the folder as if it had always been hers. I let out a single laugh. It was the only thing that kept me from causing a scene. I nodded, stood up, and pushed my chair in so gently that they all thought I had accepted it. But I hadn't. I was done. As I stepped out of the restaurant, the cold night air hit me like a wake-up call. It was cleaner, fresher than the air inside that suffocating room. I walked for what felt like an eternity in my heels, which were killing me, and ended up at a 24-hour diner. I called my friend, Lily. She was a nurse at the local hospital and had always been my biggest supporter. She came in right away, wearing scrubs under a warm wool coat. One look at my face, and she said, "Tell me what happened." I poured out the whole story, from the folder to my father's words and my mother's calm demeanor. Lily listened patiently. Then she asked the question no one in my family had ever asked me, "Jean, what do you really want? Not what they expect, but what you truly desire." The truth was terrifying. I wanted out. I wanted to build something that was truly mine, something no one could take away. But the fear of failure was overwhelming. What if I failed after walking away? What if they laughed at me? Lily reached across the table, took my phone, unlocked it, and handed it back. "Let failure come after you try, not before," she said. That night, I deleted all the old company contacts from my favorites, left the family business group chat, and archived every message that had made me think my worth was tied to the family. It felt like cutting a cord that had been holding me back. The next morning, I was up before dawn. I sat at my kitchen counter in an old sweatshirt, my hair still tied back from the night before, staring at my laptop. My phone kept buzzing with calls and texts from my family. My mother called twice, my father texted, "Don't make a scene," and Amelia sent a message saying, "Let's talk when you calm down." Calm down? They thought I should just accept being robbed. I flipped the phone over and got to work. I had spent 15 years building the operational core of that business. I knew every contingency routing system, every vendor decision tree, and every emergency escalation script. The real knowledge was in me, not in the files and servers. I started separating my personal knowledge from the company assets. I removed all the shortcuts and templates I had created on my own time. It wasn't sabotage, it was self-preservation. Around 8:30, I made a strong cup of coffee and opened a blank legal pad. I wrote at the top, what can they take and what can't they? I quickly realized they could take the office, the name, the credit line, but they couldn't take my market knowledge, my relationships, or my reputation. By 9:30, I had researched 3 potential company names, checked domain availability, and called an attorney I trusted. By 10 o'clock, Jean's Medical Logistics Solutions was born. The name was simple and straightforward, with no frills or family associations. I wanted it to sound reliable and professional. The outreach was the hardest part. I refused to send out desperate announcements. I made a list of 30 contacts and narrowed it down to 6 people I respected. I wrote individual emails stating the facts. I had launched a new firm, I was available for specialized support, and I was open to private conversations. Sending those emails felt like a leap of faith. But I did it. And for a few seconds, the silence in the room was deafening. Then, slowly, I felt a sense of calm. I had done what my family never thought I would. I had taken control of my own destiny. The first few weeks were tough. I worked from my apartment, my car, and hotel lobbies. I ate on the go, and my wardrobe consisted of blazers, black slacks, and flats. It was a far cry from the comfort of my old office, but I was determined. Then, a turning point came. A director from a large medical research center called me. A shipment had been delayed, and their current vendor was failing. She said, I knew you'd be the one to fix this. I handled the issue in under 5 hours, documented everything, and sent a detailed report. The next day, she referred me to another client. As my new company started to gain momentum, I noticed that my family's business was starting to crumble. There were whispers in the industry about delayed renewals, staff turnover, and unhappy clients. I received emails from former clients asking if I was available independently. The most satisfying email came from a hospital administrator who said, "Our confidence was always in you, not the new leadership. We'd like to work with you directly." It became clear that my family had made a huge mistake. Amelia had cut corners everywhere. She had downgraded carrier standards to save money, dismissed experienced staff, and ignored the concerns of long-term clients. Within 10 weeks, they lost 3 major accounts. One of them requested a private transition meeting with me. Then, Amelia texted me. "Can we meet? It's important." I ignored her at first, but her persistence got to me. We met at a public park by the lake. She looked haggard, her expensive clothes looking more like a mask to hide her stress. She started by saying I looked good, and I retorted that she looked like she hadn't slept. She tried to talk about market conditions and transition stress, but I let her ramble. Eventually, she got to the point. "Come back. Not under me, but as a partner. We can restructure the business." I almost laughed at the audacity. 5 months ago, I was supposed to work under her, and now she was offering a partnership. "No," I said firmly. She snapped, "Jean, be realistic. This company has scale and resources. We can still make it work." I leaned forward and said, "I'm not being stubborn. I'm being smart. I've built something better on my own." She then tried a softer approach, saying, "Mom always said you were the strong one. She said I needed this more than you." I looked her in the eye and asked, "And that made it okay to take what I built?" She had no answer. A few days later, my mother called. She said the company was in trouble, Amelia was overwhelmed, and the family name was at stake. She then said, "You know Amelia can't handle this pressure like you can." I replied, "So you knew she couldn't run it, and you gave it to her anyway?" She hesitated, and I knew the truth. She asked me to come back to the office, but I refused. My father then got on the line and tried to use his old authoritative tone, "You're being emotional. You can't punish the family." I laughed and said, "This is the consequence of your actions." And I hung up. Amelia then sent me an email with the truth. Revenue was down 40%, there were more resignations, and clients were demanding answers. She also admitted that her jealousy had made her do something stupid. I agreed to meet her at their office, on my terms, with no parents present. When I walked in, the place felt different. It was smaller, not physically, but in spirit. Amelia was waiting for me in the conference room, looking defeated. I told her I wasn't coming back. But I said I might help under one condition. You need to make a public video. Admit that the leadership transition was mishandled, that you ignored operational expertise, and that I built the foundation of this business. Apologize to the employees and clients. Her face went pale. Publicly? She asked. Yes, I said. If your mother won't allow it, tell her I said no. After a long silence, she asked, if I do it, will you help? I said, I'll review your recovery plan once, introduce you to a small client, and tell you what needs to change. That's all. She nodded. 48 hours later, she posted the video. The industry took notice immediately. She admitted her mistakes, acknowledged my contributions, and apologized. My mother was furious, and my father called it humiliating. But it was the truth. I sent her a detailed recovery memo and introduced her to a small regional clinic. The old company survived, but it was a shadow of its former self. They never recovered 45% of the lost revenue, and many major clients never returned. Meanwhile, Jean's medical logistics solutions kept growing. I hired a team, rented a proper office, and signed a multi-million-dollar contract with a large healthcare network. Looking back, I realized that the moment I walked out of that restaurant was the moment I truly became free. My family may have taken my company, but they couldn't take my spirit, my knowledge, or my ability to rebuild. Winning isn't about getting revenge, it's about building a life that they can't touch. So, I ask you, if your family stole the result of your hard work, what would you do?